Alright. I'm gonna review another movie. Um, I figured since I watched it recently, I might as well try to review it as soon as I can, because I'll probably forget about what I watched. And, because most of the time I'm busy or don't have motivation, so that's why I don't really make videos or upload them to YouTube. So it's like, I need to start trying to be more consistent with my posting on this channel. So, the movie I want to review is The Exorcist 3, which came out in 1990, and it stars George C. Scott, Ed Flanders, and Brad Dourif. It's written and directed by William Peter Blatty, who is the novelist for the original Exorcist, and the sequel to The Exorcist, the book, which is Legion, which this movie is based off the book Legion. Now, I'm gonna get into my history, or how I discovered Exorcist 3. So, I saw the original Exorcist when I was a teenager, not sure what age I was, but I watched it, with my dad and my, stepmom. Because I always heard it's one of the scariest movies ever made, and I saw videos of like the fan reactions and stuff to it. So I was like, alright, I watched it, but I'm sorry, but it didn't impress me. I did like the drama I do like the drama in it, but the horror bits I found hilarious. I don't know why they just, maybe because of her cussing and stuff made me laugh, and I just found some of that stuff funny, and I don't know, it's because I'm kind of jaded now, and I was back then, because I seen stuff like Saw and Hostel, so I was like used to watching like hardcore stuff, and I mean that's not hardcore, I mean I've seen more stuff than that, Saw and Hostel, but at that time I thought, that's that the Exorcist was just like child's play to me, and I meant not the movie, I meant like, yeah, to say it, but so I was like, it was alright. I liked, the drama bits with the relationship between Father Merrin and Damien Karras, and the not Reagan McNeil, what's her name? The mother of Reagan, and how she was dealing with her daughter and what's happening with her daughter. I liked that. I just didn't like the horror bits. Because, if you hear a line, your mother sucks cocks in hell, that's gonna make you laugh. So, I kind of stopped. I didn't really think about that movie for a while. And I used to read, like, horror books about horror movies and stuff, and when I could get on the internet, like, at the library and stuff to read about movies and stuff, I always heard that Exorcist 2, The Heretic, was one of the worst movies ever made, and, so, I was like, I probably won't watch that. I used to go by what critics say. Now I don't care, I'll watch anything. Don't care what a critic says about it. So I was like, yeah, I probably won't watch it. Then, one day I was at the public library, and I was scouring around the DVD section trying to find movies, and I came across this, Exorcist 3, but it was a DVD, but it had the same cover, and I was like, what? I was like, Exorcist 3 is like, is this a real sequel? I didn't know if it was like like one of those rip-off movies, you know what I mean? And I was like, but I saw William Peter Blatty on it, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is it, but how come I never heard of it? And most people I asked, back then, they never heard of it, and then people I asked now, most people heard of it now, most people ask about now is like, oh, have you seen Exorcist 3? They're like, some people are like, no, I had never heard of it. And it's weird, like, I wonder why this one never doesn't get much recognition. And I'm guessing it's because of the failure of Exorcist 2 that really pushed this movie down. So I thought, if Exorcist 2 is bad, this one might be bad. And I was like, whatever, I'll watch it, because I couldn't find Exorcist 2 at the time, and I actually watched Exorcist 2 after I saw this movie. So I watched it, and this movie, oh my god, this movie is like one of the only movies that actually creeped me out, besides Jaws. But, this movie creeped me out. And after I watched it, like years later, because I watched it a few times, the images and the scenes in this movie just really stand out to me. Now, the plot of the movie is George C. Scott plays Detective Kinderman, and every year, and Ed Flanders plays Father Dyer, which I'll get into. Okay. And every year it takes place 15 years after the events of The Exorcist, and every year on Damien Karras' death anniversary, which Damien Karras was the priest, the younger priest in the original movie, who took the demon possessed his body, and then he jumped out the window, fell down the stairs, and he died. Every year on his death anniversary, Detective Kinderman and Father Dyer go to a movie, and they eat and they discuss stuff. While that plot's going on, there's a separate plot where a string of killings are happening, and it has all the hallmark signs of a long dead serial killer called the Gemini Killer. And that, Kinderman thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence at first, but then he starts recognizing, as more murders starts happening, he starts recognizing a pattern, and he's like, yeah, there's something going on. So after the death of, I'm going to spoil it, Father Dyer, he locks down the hospital, because, no one saw who went in or out of that room. So he's like, well, I'm locking down this hospital, and I'm going to find out who's doing it. And so they take him down to the seclusion, solitary confinement area, and there's a patient there called Patient X. And Kinderman talks to Patient X, and he slowly starts thinking that it's possibly Father Karras, Damien Karras, or the Gemini Killer. So another issue with this movie, a lot of people have, is that, because in this movie, Kinderman claims, that he's been good friends with Father Damien Karras. And people were like, well, that's weird, because they weren't friends in the first movie. They just had one little interaction, and, it was done. And, but in the book, because I read the book, The Exorcist, Father Karras and Detective Kinderman actually had a stronger and closer relationship. So that's why, when I watched the movie, I could tell, it was connected to the book in the first movie, because I was like, yeah, because that's what happened in the book. So I know a lot of people got confused about that, and I was like, well, you gotta read the book. This movie is you gotta read the book to understand the first book, The Exorcist, to understand what's going on. Some of the scenes in this movie just freaking stand out to me. Some of the scenes that creep me out, there's a scene at the beginning where this demon, or whatever it is the demon is from its point of view, and it's going down the street through Georgetown at night, and there's like really creepy, like weird noises going on, like ambient noises, and it busts through the church doors, and this statue of Jesus like opens his eyes, and that scene just creeped me the hell out for a while. Like I was having nightmares about that, and I don't know, there's something about religious imagery that creeps me out a little bit. There's a movie, Omen 3. There's a scene where Damien's monologuing to a statue, and this is a weird looking statue. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be Jesus. I don't know who that's supposed to be. But it's weird looking. That thing creeped me out too. That scene creeped me out. There's another scene with a confessional where an elderly lady, you don't see her, you just hear her voice. She's confessing a crime to the priest, and it's a murder. She says a murder she committed, and she starts getting into detail about what happened and stuff, and it just gets creepier and creepier, and her voice gets more high pitched, and then she starts cackling, and the cackling just kind of like set me off a little bit, and then it goes to the priest's face, and the priest's like that, and then it cuts to the next scene, you hear the woman's cackling, and then you hear a woman screaming, and they sync it up together, and then it goes to the next scene, and the woman's still screaming, and it shows blood, a river, like a stream of blood coming out from underneath the confessional, and for some reason that scene fucking creeped me out, and that's because of the woman's screams, and it's not, you don't see anything, you just see the river of blood, but that woman screaming just stuck with me and creeped me out. But I liked how they edited that scene with the woman's cackles and then the lady screaming. I thought that was really great how they synced that up. There's a famous jump scare in this movie at a nurse station, where you just see a nurse walking like in and out of rooms and stuff, cause she's hearing weird noises, and she's trying to see what's causing it. She's walking in and out, and then she walks out one room, closes the door, and then you see this big ass dude, like dressed in all white, has a white veil over his face, come out with these like big ass silver garden shears, and it cuts to another scene where it's a statue with its head cut off, and it implies like what happened. I'm trying to figure out what other scenes stick out to me. There's that scene. There's another scene I had in my head. I'm trying to remember it. There's actually a band. I started listening to a lot of death metal recently. There's this band called Necrophagia, and I think it's their song Blood Freak. They sample a lot of the audio from this movie in that song, and it's mainly from the confessional scene. And but that's a side note. Another thing that stands out to me about this movie is the murders. You don't see any of the murders on screen, and damn, let me get into that now. Okay, so Father Dyer's death, you don't see it, but how they're describing it, and you see the vials of blood and everything, because they said that his body was completely drained of blood, and there was no marks anywhere. Like, it was perfect. It went in the jar perfect. No drips, no smudges, nothing. And then they said the only blood that's not in the vials or in the jars is on the wall. And you're like, well, what do you mean by that? And there's this black plastic garbage bag covering the wall, and Kinderman pulls it down, and it says "It's a Wonderful Life" on it. And that image really does stick out to me too, because that's kind of like the Gemini killer being sadistic. saying, because that was Father Dyer's favorite movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Now, let me get back to my other point. So, the other thing that stands out to me in this movie is the murders. You don't actually see the murders on screen, but how they describe the murders really, like, put an image in your head. And one scene, the one murder that really stuck out to me, and I always imagined it in my head, because they don't show it, they just tell you what happened, is the little boy at the beginning of the movie, like, how they describe how he died, and that shit just, I had, like, a vivid image in my head of what that looked like, and it, like, haunted me for days. I actually watched the director's cut of it recently, and I heard a lot of hoopla about the director's cut, because originally, when William Peter Blatty made the movie, he didn't include an exorcism scene. The movie was supposed to be, like a murder mystery detective kind of movie. And the studio saw it, and they said, well, it says Exorcist in the title, why isn't there an exorcism in it? And he tried to explain it to him, they said, no, you gotta change it. So they added, for the theatrical version, they added this big old exorcism scene at the end between Father Morning and the Gemini Killer. And the director's cut, it's just some scenes they just threw in there, which I didn't really see why some of them had to be in there. But the good portion of it that I like is the extended monologue scenes by the Gemini Killer, who was played by Brad Dourif, and he does an amazing job, like, emoting, like, how he feels and everything. And, but I hated the ending in the director's cut, which I'm not gonna spoil it. I felt like it was lackluster and a bit huge letdown. And I was like, yeah, like, I prefer the theatrical versions, and then honestly, yeah, I started reading the book Legion, but I haven't got that far into it. I'm up to the confessional murder now, but from what I read, it keeps pretty accurate. The movie keeps pretty accurate to the book. Yeah, George C. Scott was amazing in this movie, and I've only seen him in, like, 2 other things, which was Pat and The Changeling. And The Changeling's not the Angelina Jolie movie, but it's a movie from 1980. It's a ghost movie from 1980, and he did really good in that too. Brad Dourif was great as the Gemini Killer. Jason Miller has a small part in it where he switches in and out from the Gemini Killer to Father Karras, and I thought he did good job. He didn't have much though, but he did what he did. He did what he had to do. The other scene I was trying to think of too was a lot of people said this scene creeped them out. It never creeped me out. Is the old lady crawling on the ceiling. I didn't see that scene. Never creeped me out. But there was a movie that came out in 2008 or 9, something like that, called Legion, and they had, like, this old lady that gets possessed and she crawls on the wall too. Another scene I actually liked this scene, is like it's like a train station kind of thing to the afterlife. And that scene kind of, like, it's not creepy, it's kind of it's like eerie, but it's supposed to be like heaven or something, like the transport way to heaven. And I didn't know that Samuel Jackson actually had a cameo in that scene. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up.